Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a policy shift that literally has everyone talking right now. Tamil Nadu just announced 365 days of maternity leave for a third child. But, this isn't just some run-of-the-mill HR update. It's actually this incredibly fascinating window into shifting demographics, the whole future of women's employment, and exactly why 365 days of maternity leave matters so much.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. You're a working mother employed by the Tamil Nadu state government. You have a child. You take your leave, you come back, and you keep building your career, right? Then you do the whole thing all over again for baby number 2. But then you decide to expand your family even further and go for baby number 3. Now, aside from the sheer exhaustion of the kids officially outnumbering the parents, this poses a massive professional dilemma. What exactly happens next? Well, up until very recently, the answer to that question was incredibly complicated. To really understand why this is such a huge deal, we've got to look at the old maternity leave rules. For the longest time, the framework heavily factored in the number of surviving children a woman had. So, if you had fewer than 2 kids, you were eligible for up to a super generous 365 days, a full year on full pay. But if you already had 2 or more children, that benefit completely plummeted. Under the rules that were applied earlier in 2026, leave for a third child was severely restricted to just 12 weeks. That is a massive, massive drop-off for a third pregnancy.
And this stark contrast brought up a really practical reality that women's groups have been pointing out. A newborn simply does not care whether it's the first baby or the third. The physical and emotional demands of pregnancy, they don't magically decrease. A mother doesn't suddenly stop needing time to recover, breastfeed, and deal with the exhausting, sleepless demands of a new child just because of birth order. The baby still needs care, and the family absolutely still has to adjust.
Now, getting this legally recognized, it was not easy. It became this intense legal tug of war. Women government employees literally took this fight all the way to the courts. In 2025, we had the Supreme Court's K. Umadevi judgment, but then in March 2026, the Tamil Nadu government amended its rules, basically cementing the cap for a third child at those 12 weeks. The very next month, the Madras High Court pushed back, noting that maternity benefits shouldn't be denied on discriminatory grounds. But then, and here's where it gets really messy, fast forward just 2 months to June 2026, and the Madras High Court reviewed another case and officially held that under those newly amended rules, a mother was legally only entitled to those 12 weeks, not 365 days. So as recently as June, the law was strictly enforcing that 12-week cap, which, as you can imagine, created a ton of confusion and frustration for working moms.
And then comes August 18, 2026, and a massive policy shift happens in the Assembly. Human Resources Management Minister D. Sarath Kumar essentially rewrote the script. He stated, married women employed in the state government will receive 365 days of maternity leave for their third child as well. Just like that, it completely changed the landscape, bringing the third child benefit entirely in line with the first and second kids.
Okay, real quick before we go any further, let's clearly define the actual scope of this policy, because it's incredibly easy to misunderstand. This is an announcement specifically for women employed by the Tamil Nadu state government. Also, it is currently pending a formal, detailed government order to put it into full effect. It is absolutely not a blanket national mandate that magically applies to every private sector company across India. The formal implementation order is going to be the final word on how this actually works on the ground.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because we've looked at the micro-level workplace dilemma, right? But why is Tamil Nadu making this significant change right now? To really answer that, we have to zoom out and look at a massive macro demographic twist that is fundamentally changing the entire state.
This single number, 1.3, it explains so much. That was Tamil Nadu's approximate fertility rate back in 2023. Now, to maintain a population over the long term without relying super heavily on migration, a society typically needs a replacement rate of about 2.1. So dropping all the way down to 1.3, that is a dramatic demographic cliff for a state that was once associated with relatively high birth rates.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happens next. When the birth rate falls that drastically, the population ages rapidly. Based on data from the state's health minister in July 2026, already 16 out of every 100 people in Tamil Nadu are over the age of 60, and projections suggest that could actually jump to 1 in 5 people over the next decade.
And this creates a completely different kind of challenge. We really have to ask, what exactly will Tamil Nadu's workforce look like 20 or 30 years from now? Because a state desperately needs enough working-age people to support its economy, to run businesses, to pay taxes, and critically, to care for that growing aging population we just looked at. Fertility isn't just about family size anymore, it's practically an economic imperative.
Because of this, the 365-day leave announcement has sparked a pretty fascinating debate. On one side, supporters argue that if governments actually want families to have children, they absolutely have to reduce the professional penalty of parenthood. A full year of leave prevents those damaging gaps in employment and crucially maintains a woman's income, which makes having kids viable. However, critics do raise some valid concerns regarding unintended consequences. They fear that mandating such extensive, fully paid leave might actually make some employers reluctant to hire women at all, just because of the perceived future cost of covering that leave.
So it all kind of boils down to this really elegant summary. This single maternity policy sits perfectly at the intersection of two very different conversations. It's about supporting working mothers and protecting their health and careers, while simultaneously responding to a rapidly changing, aging population with falling fertility. It's essentially an attempt to achieve workplace equity and make parenthood viable, all at once. And that's exactly why 365 days of maternity matters.
And this brilliantly illustrates something we really can't ignore. While 365 days of maternity leave is incredible, it is really just one piece of a massive puzzle. When families sit down and decide whether to have children, they're weighing so much: housing costs, education, childcare, healthcare, income, job security, and of course, women's career paths. Extending maternity leave is a fantastic start for sure, but solving the broader demographic issue requires looking at all these interconnected factors together.
So, the crucial point is, if we truly want to ensure women don't ever have to choose between their careers and newborns, we need systemic steps to build a genuinely family-friendly workplace. Step 1 is better, easily accessible childcare. Step 2 requires flexible working arrangements. Step 3 means robust return-to-work programs that actually protect a woman's professional opportunities. And Step 4, that's implementing strong paternity and parental support, so the burden doesn't just fall solely on mothers. These policies are what determine whether the promise of having both a career and a family is actually practical in the real world.
Which leaves us with this final, honestly profound question to consider. What kind of society do we actually want to build for people who choose both a career and a family? Because ultimately, choosing to have a family should never, ever automatically mean sacrificing your professional future. That is the real debate Tamil Nadu's 365-day maternity leave announcement has opened up, and it's a conversation that is for sure going to shape the future of work and population dynamics for decades to come. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.